Hey guys, and welcome to Zildjian Chats with Dan Kerby. Today, in episode 7, I'm lucky enough to talk to Evan Ambrosio from the band State Champs. Now, State Champs are a pop-punk band based in New York in the United States. Now, they've been a huge pop-punk band for the last 10 or so years. I'm a massive fan of the band, and to my delight, I actually got onto Evan through the Zildjian Chats episodes. He followed me after the episode with Andy from The Ghost Inside. So that was really cool. So I, instantly hit him up and asked if he'd be keen to jump on, as he is a Zildjian artist. Now, in this episode, we break down the State Champs song Elevated. Now, Elevated is one of the band's biggest breakout hits, and it was the first album that Evan played on when he joined State Champs, I think way back in 2011. And for me, it's my personal favorite song of the band. Now, the really cool thing about this chat and the huge learning for all drummers in this episode is the intent that Evan plays with behind every hit. So every hit in that song is there for a reason. He's thought about everything. Every hi-hat, every kick, every crash, every snare, etc., every fill. It's all there for a reason. And the really impressive thing is he remembers the whole process of recording it. So even though it was like 10 plus years ago, he remembers the recording process like it was yesterday. As he says in the episode, it was a really big moment for him, and he learned a lot from making an actual proper album with a proper producer, etc. So it's really cool to hear him talk about that and elaborate on that. Stay tuned. This episode's awesome. One of the best ones we've had. Enjoy Evan Ambrosio from the band State Champs. I'm Dan Kerby. Let's go. Mate, it's awesome to get you on here. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me. This is fun.
Bro,
I love doing things like this.
It's sick, man. It's something I came up with Justin Malseed from Zildjian. He looks after Zildjian out here in Australia. And he suggested it, and I jumped at it, man. So it's been cool. I think I noticed you coming onto my Insta maybe after I interviewed Andrew from The Ghost Inside, or it was something like, yeah, I noticed you started popping up. I was like, that's pretty sick.
Yeah, I love that interview. Andrew's a good guy. I just recently met him, and it was he's an amazing person and great player.
Man, he is. He's incredible. His whole thing. So, man, it's cool. It's kind of a pretty small world, I feel like. Especially with you guys in the US, like you all kind of know each other. You all do festivals together. You've all played with each other at some point.
Yeah, no, that's the thing that I love about the drum community as a whole. I feel like it's mostly supportive, and especially when you're touring with drummers, like it's a really great way to just meet people, and everyone's super supportive. Everybody's always like, "Hey, what was that? What are you doing?" Like it's not competitive, which I really love. I always have like a practice kit set up. Huge shout out to ProLogix as well. They sent me a bunch of practice pads, and I make a little practice pad kit with the Zildjian L80s.
Sick.
Yeah, and that's always a talking piece. I always have it out for every tour, and I tell each drummer, if you want to warm up or hang out on it, like please play. Like let's talk shop, let's talk drums. I want to learn as much as I can from each player, and I feel like with touring, I always meet the best people that want to learn and be better at playing drums. So I love the drum community.
Man, I agree. I 100% agree with that. It's every time I play with an act, I go straight to the drummer. Every time, straight to you. You just know you've got a lot of things in common. You can just chew the fat, and it's going to happen pretty naturally.
Absolutely.
And it's true, man. And even from like doing this series that I've started doing with Zildjian, it's every drummer is awesome in their own way. You know what I mean? Everyone has something awesome about them that you can learn from. So it's very cool just to kind of chat to drummers and kind of see what they do and how they do things and what makes them awesome. It's a cool thing. Mate, so speaking of Zildjian, you're obviously a Zildjian artist. How long have you been a part of the team for?
So I want to say I joined State Champs in 2012, and I want to say that either at the end of 2013 or early 2014, I started working with Zildjian. They were the first company ever to give me any sort of chance. So, awesome. And that, meant a lot to me, but also it was Zildjian. Like that's that's the biggest company that you can be with. So At first, they were just, it was kind of like a program where they would help out with artist pricing, but I wasn't officially an artist. And then I think I signed on as an official artist in like 2015. But they've always treated me, even before I was an official artist, no email went unanswered. No, like they always got me sorted for tours. They were always super supportive. And that's why I think Zildjian is probably my favorite company to be with. Not just because I'm saying this because it's a Zildjian podcast, but because they were the first one to like take a shot on a young drummer that was new to touring, and I guess they saw potential in the band and in me, and it was really sweet of them to take notice.
And it paid off. They've got a good eye. They've got a good eye, definitely.
They do.
Yeah. So, do you live in New York? Like, is that where you're from? Like,
I'm from upstate New York, but I live in Connecticut now with my wife.
Right. So does that mean that you're kind of with the East Side Zildjian guys, like the Boston kind of crew?
Yeah. I'm with Eric, and I've known Eric for a very long time, and it's really nice to have him there because I've had a friendship before he started officially working for Zildjian.
Awesome.
And now it's just they always are the best, especially Eric. Make sure that if I break a cymbal on the road, I have it within a few days, and it's amazing.
That's huge. And does that mean that you get to go to the Boston factory? Like, have you been there?
Yeah, I went once. I'd love to go back again. I went and I visited Eric, and it was absolutely phenomenal to walk through the shop and see how everything's made and the attention to detail that goes into making those cymbals. It's mind-blowing, and it's such a beautiful factory.
Wow. I could only imagine. I'd love to go there. It's being from Australia, like LA is easier to get to, then the other side's a little harder, as you know. So I've never got to go there, but yeah, I'd love to, man. I'd love to see like...
We got to get you out here. And,
man,
we'll go together. We'll go together. It'll be a fun time.
Yeah, bro. Absolutely. That'd be insane. Now, speaking of Zildjian cymbals, I've got a picture of your setup here. I'll pull it up, drag it across a little bit. Yep. So this is the recent setup, given your kit in the background.
Yes.
We'll talk about that as well. But man, the few things here super interesting to me. Like, tell us about the cymbal on the right hand side. It looks like is it the Crash of Doom with a little china on top?
Yeah. So I was never a fan of like China cymbals growing up. I just felt that they were too aggressive for what I was playing. Mm-hmm. So, and I've always been in love with people who use stacks. Mm-hmm. And it was honestly quite easy to like stack broken cymbals and stuff like that. So this cymbal has evolved, and it's actually different on the tour I'm on now. But this one specifically for Sad Summer was a 20-inch Crash of Doom. Mm-hmm. And then I believe it's a 10-inch China Trash. Mm-hmm. I believe is that one. So, and it made it to where it has this crazy like I love the Crash of Doom on its own. It's one of my favorites. So it's got that really dark tone to it, and then the like China Trash on top kind of makes it sound a little bit more aggressive and trashy. Mm-hmm. And it really helped cut through with my parts. Originally, if you look at older setups, and I'll probably end up going back to it, but I have an 18-inch K EFX, and then I have the China Trash, and then I have an 8-inch K Splash on top of that.
Nice.
And then I do the 12-inch, like spiral stacker thing.
Yeah.
And it kind of comes up. So that's been my stack for like, I've probably played that for 4 or 5 years.
Right.
And this was the first tour that I actually changed to the Crash of Doom.
Epic.
So I'm always trying to change the stack to make new sounds.
Yeah, gotcha. It's fun just to mix around and mix them up and see what you can come up with. And also, right underneath your right elbow there, you've got, it looks like a KEFX, like hi-hat kind of setup on top of something else.
Yeah, I have... I've always loved the aux hat thing, and especially there's a lot of groups that I play where the aux hat comes in handy. Mm-hmm. But I also wanted it to kind of act like a stack a little bit, to have this like a little bit trashier sound to make it sound very different than my 14K sessions on my left. Mm-hmm. So I have the 16-inch K light on the bottom, and then the 16-inch 16-inch K EFX on top, so it makes it really trashy, but it makes it still sound like a hi-hat.
Yes, sick. And that's just like a hi-hat kind of clamp accessory you've
Yeah,
got there.
it's a DW. I forgot the official name for it, but it's just their DW aux hi-hat clamp.
Right.
But it works really, really well. You can have it in two settings where you can open it and close it, like just on the swivel. So it makes it really easy to switch because for our song Just Sound, I have to have it open, and then for my song Frozen, I have to have it closed. So it's nice to have the easy adjustable thing where it can open and close.
Epic.
Super, super smooth.
And then you've got the little effects splash on the left. I've seen heaps of guys use them. I've never used one, but I love how light and quick they are.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why I picked that one specifically. It's the A Custom EFX. I think I use it's a 10-inch. For me, I was never a splash person growing up. I never really needed to use it. But as I've gotten older, and as being a Zildjian artist, I've gotten to try a lot of things, and it just adds this really quick, sharp sound to my setup, and I really love having it there. I'd probably add a few more splashes if I could.
Gotcha.
But
yeah.
that one specifically works really, really well.
That's huge. And then you've got the K's, crashes, and is it like a K crash ride or something like that?
Yeah, that's a K. I just recently switched. It's Jake from Mayday had me switch to it because I'm not really a 22-inch ride guy, or I wasn't at least. And I want to say it's the 22-inch K Dark ride. I just recently switched. It's usually a 21 A Sweet ride or the 21, like the Sweet crashes. Like I like those.
Yep.
Or the K 21 crash ride that I usually use. So those are like I always have those on hand just in case I break one. But this one is nice because it gives a little bit more ride definition. The bell cuts through, and it's super washy, which I crash on my rides a lot. I've been trying to get away from that a little bit.
Yep.
So this just really helps with a lot of like stick definition and cutting through on a lot of the parts. I've been trying to use the ride as more of a ride around. Crashing on my.
I'm hearing that.
And then the K, the dark thin crashes are just unbelievable. So I usually run a 19 on my left and a 20 on my right. So I try not to go too big.
Yep. Now, I've got a quick video here of you on your new kit. This is taken from your Instagram. And I believe this is your, you've mentioned this is your favorite drum part from the new album. So I'm just going to pull it up.
Okay, yeah.
Let's have a quick look. Yeah, huge. So, a few things with that, man. So, one, that's like such a musical drum part to me. There's a lot of space, and then I like how you kind of build it up with the toms towards the back end of it. So, with say something like that, you mentioned in that post that was one of your favorite drum parts of the new album. What's the kind of thought process behind writing that? Like, what do you set out to kind of write something that's a little unusual? Because that's like quite an unusual drum part for pop punk music, right?
Yeah. So my goal always is to have it be unique, but not overwhelming, like not to overplay. Because my goal in the band is to support Derek and support the band and have certain moments where I can shine. And this part actually was really fun for me because when we were writing this song, I didn't have a drum kit on me. I only had my laptop. So when we were writing this, I was like the first part where it was just the groove, the hi-hat groove. Actually, my singer really helped with develop that specific part. And he's like, all right, maybe it would be cool if it like kind of grew and became more with like working in the toms and kind of doing what you do. And I was like, all right, cool. So when I was in there, I was like, man, I really wish I had a drum kit, but I was kind of like messing around with writing drum parts in Logic and MIDI.
Mhm.
And this was the first time that I had written a drum part where I wasn't sitting behind the kit. So
Cool.
when I wrote it, and I'll see if I can find the video, but when I was writing it, I was like, I don't know if I can play this. Like, I don't know. It was really, really strange with how it was orchestrated. And I was like, it was the first time where I was like, okay, this is a different thought process of how I would normally sit behind a kit and play it. So I wrote it. I loved how it was when I programmed it. And then I had to sit behind an E-kit for a few minutes to kind of figure it out and then tracking it. So it's pretty tricky, but I think it's one of my favorite parts because it was one where I was like, it's a totally different style of writing than me being behind a kit, and it worked together really well.
Man,
and I think it's to me it was super unique for the way that I usually write, and I'm just glad it worked out.
Man, that's so cool. It's so cool that that's the story behind that part. And that's what makes it so unique. Like, when you were writing that, were you kind of hearing it in your head and then punching it into the laptop? You got, like, you know how you can hear drums in your head?
Yeah, I definitely do. But I feel like for this one, I took the original groove and then I moved MIDI around to like, all right, I want to add toms, and I usually have a specific way I add toms in on a groove, and so a lot of it was kind of moving MIDI around and being like, oh, that sounds really cool, and I had an idea of where it was going, but it really developed because I kind of just moved MIDI around, and I was like, oh, that would be cool if the toms were there. So yeah, it was really fun and one of my favorite parts. I'll have to send the video of, I made like a video of me writing in the MIDI because I was like, oh, this is the first time I've done this. Let me video this, and then me practicing and then me tracking it. I have to find it somewhere, but it was a cool process that I've gotten better at programming drums because a lot of the times when we go out to LA and you're writing with everybody, there's no drum kit to be had in the studio. They're always small studios. So if I want to get my ideas in, I have to program the drums and I'll send it to the producer, like, this is what I'm thinking. So
Right.
I've had to adapt. I have multiple different ways I write now. My favorite is still playing, but writing in MIDI and programming drums has been super helpful over the last few records.
And I've seen that you've got a Roland kit. It looks like a TD-27. Is it?
Yeah, that's the brain. Yeah, it's the
Right.
the VAD 503. So it's the
Sick.
ones that look like real drums.
Oh,
yeah,
sick.
I got lucky. Yeah,
Man, they're epic. And do you, like, with the MIDI stuff, is that one way you write? Like, you'll get on that kit and write, and then do you manipulate that MIDI? So you might write it on the kit, you have the MIDI file, and then you jump in and tweak it a little bit. Is that another way you do it?
Yeah, like recently, I just recently linked up with Roland over the past like year and a half, and when I got that kit, everything changed. In Connecticut, I don't have the best spot to really track drums. Like, I did it for a while, but with neighbors being super close, I got the Roland kit, and especially I want a huge shout out to Room Sound. They sent me a bunch of their sound library, so it sounds like actual real drums. Like, what goes into them is amazing. But a lot of the times I write now, it's on that. I'll track something, and then just moving MIDI around is super easy. So when I'm home, I rarely play my actual kit, and I play the Roland kit, and it makes writing so much easier because you don't even have to be really spot on. You can just move MIDI and then be like, oh, I want it to be this tom instead, and it just adds a whole other flavor. It's cool.
And the electronic kits these days are so good that having an electronic kit at home, just to jam out on, is so much different to what it was, say, 10, 15 years ago, where, electronic kits, you're like, ugh. But like now, you could quite easily have your Roland at home and just be stoked and play real kit on the road.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how well the tech has evolved over the last few years. I mean, I could actually track a record on that kit.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't be my first thing, but like sending demos back and forth to the band is easier than ever. And even if you just want to practice, like, they have built-in metronome settings, they have built-in songs, they have like exercises you can do to, like, it's just phenomenal what you can do with those. And I think it's the best for most people with, living in apartments or whatever.
100%.
They're amazing.
And what is going to be amazing is also what DW and Roland do together now that they're the same company. I can't imagine what's coming.
Yeah, that their 50th anniversary live stream with their new tech is incredible. I can't wait to see. I didn't look too much into it, but I saw it for a little bit. It looks amazing. So yeah, I'm excited to see what happens there too.
Oh, it'll be wild. Like those two companies together. Who knows, man?
Yeah.
Give it a couple of years and we'll see what's available. Speaking of DW, are you with DW as well?
Yep.
Now tell us about that new kit, man, because that is an absolute belter. We just saw it in that clip.
Yeah, I've been a DW fanboy my entire life, pretty much, or my entire professional career, and being with them has been a dream. And I try and, growing up, I always loved when bands changed drum kits for each record cycle. And I've always kind of wanted to do that. So for this one, I was like, I kind of want to have something a little bit more timeless and classic. So I found a picture of this kit, and I was like, I need to have this one because it's amazing. It was a Seafoam pearl kit, or Seafoam green kit. And then I was like, all right, our record's called Kings of the New Age, so I wanted the gold hardware. I've always wanted a kit with gold hardware. And then DW had come out with a purple core and cherry configuration. And I've only ever played maple kits my entire life. So I was like, I want to try something new and different. And my DW rep was like, all right, you like lower sounding toms. So this will be the configuration that gives you the lowest sound that you want. Because even when you tune them up, it gives it a little bit more body. And this kit is one of the most insane sounding kits I've ever played. It's the easiest to tune, and I couldn't be happier with it. So yeah, it's a purple core cherry Seafoam, like green with gold hardware, and Bubinga hoops on the kick drum.
Yes.
I've always kind of wanted to have a kit with that, but I just figured with state champs, it would be nice to have a hint of that, and it's absolutely stunning. So it's a 10, 12, 16, 18, and then a 22 kick. So it's also the biggest kit I've ever played. So
it looks epic. Now, I'm guessing that if I pull up your tour poster here, I'm guessing that the color scheme for your kit is from the tour poster, like bringing it all together. Is that correct? Or is it a coincidence?
It's actually kind of funny. That's kind of a coincidence, but now that you point that out, it's actually really funny. Yeah.
Had you thought about that?
I ordered my kit. Not really. We changed. Actually, we changed the color of the poster a few times. It was actually in a red originally.
Right.
Like,
okay.
A little aggressive. So the green was kind of like a nice. It just looked pleasing to us. So
yeah.
Well,
oh man,
yeah, it's funny.
That's funny. I assumed I was like, he's matched the tour artwork. I like it. So anyway, it matches the tour artwork, which is an epic move, man.
Funny.
Now,
I like that.
I've got elevated transcribed. I have a drum school here, and my transcriber Ivan has done that for us. He's an absolute weapon.
That's awesome.
Now, I was looking at the timeline of you in the band, and by the looks of it, this is your drum part. I recorded on Finer Things. Yeah,
sick. I was very new, but this is the first time I wrote with State Champs. Yeah.
Yes, sick. So how you would have been a kid, right, at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I was 24, like 23, 24 when I joined, so it's like right after college. Yeah, and I joined in August of 2012, and then my first show was Koi Music Fest in Canada in September, and then I hadn't stopped touring since, pretty much. So
right.
It moved quickly.
And what were you doing, like music at college, or were you doing something completely different?
Yeah, I went to school for audio recording and the music industry.
Sick.
I was terrible at recording,
right.
But it really helped me because I could play to a click really well. So I played on everybody's projects. Like, I think that was the most fun for me is if you needed a drummer, they would call me and I would play any style, anything on their project. And it was the most fun I had in a long time. And up to that point, it was, a dream come true. I really always wanted to be a studio guy.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
And joining State Champs, did you know the guys before? Were you in a band that played with them previously? Were you from the same hometown as the guys? How did that come about?
So it's kind of funny. I grew up 40 minutes south of Albany, so I was a little bit out of that scene. And then I moved to Western New York for college. So I didn't really know the guys, even though we were from the same area. And then I started a band after college in Syracuse, and we had played shows with state champs. And I'm not like the most social person in each band, so I didn't really know them even after we played with them. And one day I went to Albany and I saw my guitarist brother, and I said, "Hey, tell your brother I want to join his band." Just as a joke, because I saw state champs doing all this crazy stuff, and my band was kind of like, it's hard to get them together to practice.
Right.
So I was like, I want to join a real band. They signed a Pure Noise. So I just threw it out there, and he's like, he gave my number to him. Tyler texted me because I had no idea that they were looking at me as a potential prospect to play. I had no idea that they even know who I was. So I got a text from Tyler being like, "Yo, if you're serious, like, we'd love for you to join state champs." And I was like, "Wait, what?"
What, straight up, we'd love for you to join. Wow. Sick.
Yeah, it was really, really, really weird how it came together, because that's not something I would do. Like, I don't normally just go up to somebody I don't know and be like, tell your brother I want to join his band, you know? And it worked out really, really well. And it kind of blew me away. So I got my band on a show. State Champs had like a hometown show, and I got my band on that show to have them watch me to kind of try out. And after that, Tyler's like, "Yeah, we want you in." So it was cool.
Man, that is sick. And with that particular show, like, you obviously remember that quite well.
Oh yeah.
What were you feeling going into that? Like, were you nervous or were you pumped or?
Dude, back in the day when I was younger, I was just full of confidence. I probably didn't think much about it. I was like, they already want me. I just need to play a good show. And yeah, if that happened now, I'd probably be sweating bullets. But back then, it was like, I got
good.
This. So I wasn't too nervous, but I was more excited to talk to Tyler after, and the rest of the guys, because I had only talked to Tyler at that point. So I met the rest of the guys in the band, and we hit it off, which was great.
Man, and then and I guess with the first album you played on, that's when, like, it really started to go, right?
Yeah, it was. Well, that was a huge reason I joined, because they signed a Pure Noise, and Sam Pura, who recorded the Story So Far and had a bunch of bands going to the Panda Studios in California. I remember being like, "Whoa, I would love to record there." And he's like, "We have potential to do Warped Tour," so all these big things. So when we recorded Finer Things, it was kind of like, it seemed. I mean, it was a big deal for us, but it was like, even just being at that studio was a big deal. So we didn't have much time to write that record, though, which was crazy. We had toured all the way up until December, and then we had, between December and I think we started recording in like mid-January, and we only had 3.5 weeks to record that record. So we only had like weeks to really prepare and write together. Right. Which was crazy. So we went in with maybe 3 or 4 ideas, and 2 of songs maybe had Derek have a vocal demo on it. So it was like pretty crazy how fast that record came together, and really proud of it, because it's awesome. Really didn't have much time to write it.
It stood the test of time, like elevated. I mean, it sounds like if you released it right now, it would sound like it's current, right? It's like 10 years old.
Yeah. No, I love that. I feel like we always have this energy to us that, especially in that record, people love it, where it's just like this high energy early 2000s type of vibe, and that's kind of what we try to go for.
Sick. All right, well, let's have a listen, man. Let's pull it up and go for it.
Sure.
All right.
Absolutely.
I'll stop, pause it, we'll have a chat, and here we go.
Yeah, you're gonna have to teach me how to transcribe one of these days.
Oh man, let's do it. Here we go. First thing, I mean, there's plenty of space in that big intro with the cymbals and whatnot, and then moving into the verse, the hi-hats, the eighths on the hi-hat.
Yep.
I mean, I grew up playing pop punk stuff as well, and I feel like learning how to play accented eighth notes on the hi-hat,
Yep.
is like one of the most crucial things to playing grooves like that.
Yeah, it's really, really tough. And, well, especially for me, I always like, I'm not good at playing, like, I always seem to accent the first one a lot more. So that was, with most engineers, they want to hear it mostly almost the same velocity each time. So that was kind of a hard like lesson for me, even doing that, because you want it to almost, you don't want it to be accented too much. You want the energy to stay up, and I feel like if everything's the same velocity, especially in that part, it keeps the part moving and driving, which is what I love about that verse. It's a pretty simple drum part, but I feel like the energy really helps the song, especially in that section.
And to play it like that is very difficult. I teach drums. I've got a drum school here, and I think you teach drums as well, judging by your email address, right? Or you do a bit?
Yeah, I'm trying to start. I'm starting at least. I want to get more into the educational purposes of drumming for sure.
Sick. I feel that I always tell my students nothing is easy. There's nothing easy. There's no such thing as easy.
No, not at all.
Like you could have like the most simple beat, and it looks easy on paper or whatever, and in theory it's easy, but to actually play it really well is extremely difficult. And you will never play, like you can always play an easy beat better. You can always play it better. You know what I mean? It's never ending how hard drums can be. But shout out to that bit, because that's difficult. Just doing that. It's clean as.
I appreciate that. Man,
let's keep rolling.
By your greatest mistake, now I'm all.
Even that fill.
Yeah. Well, we wanted it to carry, like, especially, so after that fill goes into an open hi-hat, and it just really helps push the momentum forward of the song and really kind of builds up the anticipation of the chorus, like just building it to the chorus and having just that big moment. And I think that's another thing that I learned a lot about, like, cymbal choices. I used to have these like weird rules almost, where I was like, I don't like using certain cymbals for certain parts. Like using a ride in a verse was weird to me, or even back in the day, I was like, an open hi-hat chorus is weird. So I learned a lot, especially from this record, of like cymbal choice per part, which I don't think maybe people think of that, but I didn't, at least back in the day. So like starting with the closed hi-hat with, almost the unaccented eighth notes, like starting off a little bit softer, then building to the chorus, but choosing which cymbal properly is really important. That's really why opening it up.
I was just going to say, that's really cool that you can actually remember that from like that long ago. You remember the process of, okay, the first bit of the verse, we're tight, eighth notes. The second part, we're loosening it. So I guess when you're playing it these days, you wrote it, say, 10 years ago, even longer. You performed it in the studio like that and probably made a point of it with the producer. And now you play it live and you still remember those facts or points. Sure. Yeah.
There's a ton of things that I remember from like this, because this is the first full-length record I had ever, written. So I was going in as like, I'm the drummer, I know everything, like yada, yada, yada. And I was humbled really quickly because, I mean, the producer, the engineer, even my singer, like they were like, well, you're doing too much, or like, this is not helping the song. And I was like, well, I'm the drummer, I know what I'm doing. So there's a lot of like humbling moments, and this is something that I learned specifically on this record of like cymbal choice, even choosing like what to do for each part. And shout out to Sampura, who engineered this record. Even with recording this, he had me play my cymbals way higher, and he said, focus on hitting the cymbals less hard and really playing through the drums. And that is something that to this day I still try and do with recording, because it just helps out the sound of the record so much if you really play through the drums. And I just learned a lot about how to track from him. And that was another thing that I learned on this record. Sorry, it's a long tangent. But I've learned a ton from this record.
Mate, that's really cool, because I've had sessions where I've recorded the drums separately to the cymbals so the engineer can boost the drums up without the cymbals getting in the way. And I've also done sessions like you just said where the cymbals are higher, because I like playing with higher cymbals. And I literally did that because it's visually cool when you watch someone play like that.
Oh, yeah. looks awesome.
But it's cool to know that it actually serves a purpose in the studio as well.
Yeah, it just helps with the bleed between the mics, and it just also like when you really lay in, especially like now I've learned over the last year, like I used to think you hit really, really hard, it sounds great. But there is a limit, especially on cymbals. Like if you're really playing into your cymbals, you're going to get a really harsh sound, and it's like, even live. Like if I really lay into my cymbals live, it's going to come through with Derek and my singers and stuff like that. So even my cymbal choice is really thought out, because when I was playing A customs and they were super bright and brilliant, when I was playing the way I would play, it was making really ugly sounds for the front of house guy coming through Derek's mics and my two other bandmates' mics.
Right.
And so like I played darker cymbals to help with that, but with playing them higher and not as hard for the recording, it just sounds better overall. It sounds a little bit warmer, it sounds a little bit smoother, versus when you're really laying into it, you're getting the really harsh sounds of cymbals. And
with that, yeah, two things. I agree. You can hit the cymbals hard or make it even look like you're hitting them hard, but you're not really hitting them that hard, you know? You're getting a nice musical note out of them. But yeah, when someone hits a cymbal too hard, it's like, whoa, it's a lot.
Yeah, and it just sounds really bad. And the same thing with drums. I used to think like, oh, the best I sound is when I'm really laying into my drums. But I've recently done a sample pack where I noticed that if I hit at 80%, you get a lot of sound out of the drums. You get the nice overtones, versus you hit at 100%, you're choking the drum. It's just not sounding as good. So the same thing works with cymbals, and especially with recording, like it's super important.
Mate, that's huge. And with the bleeding of the cymbals into, say, Derek's mic, is that something that your front of house sound engineer picked up on and let you know? Is that what that process was? Yeah,
so we've had a few front of house guys, but the one we were with for a long time, his name is Chris Miller, one of my best friends on the planet. He's always been very honest with me with playing, because he just wants the band. His job is to make us sound as good as possible. So he'd come up and be like, hey man, like those cymbals are really getting in the way of Derek, or they're sounding really harsh. Like, would you mind trying this or doing that, or, you know, tuning a drum this specific way? Like, I've learned a lot from him. And I've always been attracted to like warmer and darker sounding cymbals. Like my setup at home, like the special dry stuff, that I love playing like super dry and really dark cymbals. So it wasn't like a, you know, it wasn't a big change for me. I mean, A customs look really, really cool.
Yeah,
but
sick.
For me, they weren't serving the way that I played.
Right. And I guess
it's
important to have good crew, right? Like, if you have a great front of house engineer, like I have a great front of house engineer out here, and whenever he says things to me, I like pay attention. You know, you can learn heaps from those guys. So that's a cool, like quite specific bit of feedback that he's giving you, which is cool.
Yeah, no, we always have the best crew, and you know, he's moved on to bigger and better things. But even like our front of house now, like Colin, just does the same thing. Like he makes us sound the best, and he wants us to sound the best live. So he'll give good feedback of what sounds great and what doesn't. And I trust our crew, because that's why we hire them.
100%.
We have the absolute best crew that tour with us.
100%. All right, let's keep rolling. Here we go.
I feel the same way, struggling just to get to the next step. Force-fed lies to wire out by your side. Shaking your head doesn't change this. Preparing myself for a train wreck. I can't be saved.
I love that, Phil.
Yeah, that one's fun.
That's sick. Just kind of rolling around in between the cymbal hits. Very cool. Oh, keep rolling.
That one's not easy. That one's not easy to play too, because it's really quick in between each cymbal hit. So that one's a pretty tricky part, but it's a really fun fill to me.
Was there 2 toms or was there 3? What do you do now?
It was one up and one down. I was only playing a 4-piece. Yeah, I only recently, within the last year, built up my kit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've always played a one up, one down.
Because I was going to say it's a lot of moving in a short amount of time. Yeah. All right, we'll keep rolling. Coming up to the chorus.
So tell me, why can't you say this is where you need to
Sick. So you do that fill again in there. And there's like lots of kicks on the ands, like in between your hand. Yeah. Now, with say like that drum pattern, like that kick pattern in that chorus, is that kind of something that it was like completely written out, like this is how it is, or is there elements of you moving things around, or you know exactly what it is and that's what it is?
Yeah, so I think for writing this record, especially when it came to tracking, we paid attention to kick and snare patterns a ton, which is something I had never done before at that point. Up until this point, I was playing like different drum beats per each section, like, and when you do that, like not having uniform kick and snare patterns throughout a song makes it almost sound chaotic. It doesn't really seem like it's like a uniform song. It's almost like you're playing a different part, and it just doesn't seem to work well for the song. So this was the first time in my career that I had to focus on writing kick and snare patterns. And Derek, my singer, is really good at helping with that, because if you listen to where those kicks are placed, it's really going with what the bass guitar and the rhythm guitar are doing. Yep. And it's really just a support. And it's a really cool kick and snare pattern, because I don't know that I would have necessarily done that otherwise. Like, if it was just me writing it, I probably would have had something a little bit different. But it's cool to be like, all right, what are the other instruments doing in this part, and what's Derek doing, and kind of filling in the gaps and helping. I just feel like the kick pattern, especially on the ends or with the guitar and bass, like I just feel like it helps drive the song and makes it really, really
100%, man. And I think that's such a cool thing for drummers listening, to pay attention to the kick and snare patterns, because you could easily, like, if you say you're in a band, you're writing a chorus like that, you could just kind of get in there and just play something that's kind of similar to the next chorus, but it's, 80% the same, 80% not. Sure. But paying attention to like exactly every kick, every snare, and every kick and every snare is there for a reason. It's, as you said, backing up what the other guys are playing. Yeah, it's intentional. That's that's cool. Important.
Yeah, and I had to learn that. And like, obviously there's you don't have to do that for each part. Like, if you look at it for state champs, generally the first verse will go a certain way, and then we'll either pretty much keep it the same but maybe change like a fill, or we'll completely take the second verse somewhere else, which is what's going to happen next. But with the choruses, I pretty much keep all of the choruses the same, except maybe slightly change a fill, just so it's evolving throughout the song. And then maybe the last chorus is where I go a little crazy. So there are like methods to my madness a little bit now, like that I've learned over the years. But keeping a similar kick and snare pattern throughout it all just makes the song seem like a song and not just like a demo or a thought. Having the kick and snare, like being intentional with where you're putting your kick and snares is incredibly important to people writing songs.
Mate, awesome. I love that. Let's keep rolling. And I guess with this chorus pumps. This is my favorite song of yours. This chorus just pumps, man.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, let's keep going.
Holidays tend to make me feel whole again. Rainy days make me feel like the dream is dead.
Less hi-hat hits than the first verse. More space.
So it's almost like a hip hoppy vibe too. Like, well, especially now how I play it live, it's pretty different at this point. But on this record, those hits are so strong. So having a less busy hi-hat, I feel like just really helps with the vibe of this.
Like bopping your head makes you want to do these ones.
Yeah. Exactly. It's a little
feel.
bit different intention than the first. That's where I say we took it to a completely different spot, almost where it's just like this really fun head bobby moment instead of just like the closed hi-hat pushing the song forward.
Yep. Mate, huge lessons for drummers. That's massive, man. Like just dropping the hi-hat hits back like that. It does make you want to bop your head more, whereas the first one is pushing faster like that.
Yeah, it just
crazy.
If you're adding more hi-hat, if you're adding like the hi-hats, especially all the same velocity, it almost makes it feel like you want to push forward. And when you take that out, and especially with those three kicks there, accenting with what the guitars are doing, like it definitely just helped. We were trying to go for just a totally different vibe on the second verse.
Those three kicks are pretty hard to do too, I don't know. Like, I always find 3 in a row is harder than, like 3 really tight in a row is hard.
That is my struggle to this day. My right foot is still probably I would say my weak point that I like to work on a lot. But those 3 kicks are really difficult to nail perfectly each time.
100%. And I feel like sometimes when you're playing, if you're aware of it and you think about it, it actually makes it worse. So, sometimes.
That's my. We could do a whole other podcast on the mentality of playing drums because, dude, that's my thing. Is like, especially when you mess something up one show and then you're like, oh, here's the part I messed up last night. It's for me, drumming is just as much or more mental than it is physical because if you're thinking about what you're doing, especially playing live, you're almost heading yourself into a disaster because you're thinking about what you did wrong and then it messes up. And that's my problem to this day is those 3 kicks in a row, but it's more me thinking about the 3 kicks in a row. It's like I can physically do it, but the mentality aspect of drumming is the hardest part in my opinion.
Man, and I also feel like sometimes you play a gig and one night you might do those 3 kicks very, very easily. You might have a lot of adrenaline and it feels like the song's kind of going slower some nights than it does other nights. Some nights you're like, oh my God, this is going really fast. And other nights you'll be like, this is really slow.
That's why I love metronomes. I love playing to a click. It makes sure that you're always on time. And because for me, like I'll start out a tour and all the adrenaline makes it like, why are these songs so slow? Yeah. And then halfway through the tour, you're like, why are these songs so fast?
Yeah.
It's funny.
100%. I'm all about the clicks as well. I just,
yeah.
And as the drummer playing, exactly what we just discussed. Sometimes you feel slow, sometimes it feels fast. You're like, if I wasn't playing to a click right now, I'd be playing this so fast.
Oh yeah. And there's been very few gigs where with state champs that I played without a click because I would start the set super fast and by the end of the set I would be dragging every song. So it's just it's not like I'm like intentionally listening to it, but it's just a good reminder of where you are in the song. And now over the years I've learned that like, hey, if there's this part here, right, like this second verse, you can kind of lay and play behind the click a little bit to give it more of that natural feel. And then if there's a faster part, you can play ahead of it. If you know like how to play ahead and behind the click, you can add that feel that people say is lost when you play to a click. I don't necessarily buy into that.
No, same.
I like playing with the click like ahead and behind it whenever it's necessary.
Did the other guys in your band have clicking areas as well?
Yes. Yeah, we all have count-ins and click. Yeah. I'm so happy that it just makes it so much more professional when I'm not counting in the band for every song.
Yes, and also like in gaps, when like if there's a gap where it's a vocal bit or whatever, or a full stop, everyone just can come back in on the one, no dramas.
Yep, it's great.
All right, let's keep rolling.
Show you what it's like to be down when you're all alone. Playing aligned to your design. What's mine is yours and that's just fine. I'm finally acquiring.
That's my favorite part of the whole song. Like,
yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, man. Like that lyric, the melody. I like how it kind of goes up, and then you follow it with the toms. Epic, intentional, no doubt.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because as you can tell with what Derek's doing when he's singing, he with the tone in his voice and the energy that he's putting in, adding those toms and kind of adding to that just really, really helps out. And those 3 kicks are still steady throughout the entire part, but just adding a little extra to kind of almost get it to just building to the chorus. Because the most important part of the song is the chorus. And every other section, you kind of want it to build to that point. And this is just a good way to do it. The open hi-hat part, going throughout the toms, hitting the stack and ending on the hi-hat. Like the phrasing of each part is super intentional just to kind of push the song forward.
I think that's all such epic knowledge and information for drummers, because when I listen to this song, I know the chorus pops, and I love when the chorus comes in. And everything that you're saying is basically explaining to me why I love it. Because if you said, why do you love it? I'd just be like, oh, it's a great chorus, but it's actually everything. It is a great chorus, but it's everything around it, building up to it, that makes it great.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. Very cool.
And with drummers too, like a lot of people are like, oh, you know, with everything is doing their part. Like guitars and bass are obviously building as well, but with drums, you can make it very obvious when you're building towards something with cymbal choice. Like, you know, even using a ride to open up a little bit more space, or opening up the hi-hat just adds the energy right before the chorus. So there's a lot of times where I'll start a verse on a closed hi-hat because it's got a great vibe, and then you can open up the hi-hat or go to the ride before the chorus to either push the momentum forward with the open hi-hat or add space with the ride, and then explode into the chorus on the crashes.
Yeah.
So there's just like a bunch of different techniques as a drummer that you can take to really affect the mood of the song. With even just cymbal choices, keeping the same kick and snare pattern, but just changing cymbal choices, it can make all the difference in the world.
That's awesome insight into how you write, man. I love it. Let's keep rolling. Epic. Now, coming out of that chorus, obviously we're flipping it up into the middle eight, into the middle section, and your snares and kicks are following the guitar and bass parts again. The high notes on the guitar are your snares, and the lower notes are your kicks.
Yep.
Sick.
And I always love those types of beats because those are such an energetic way to kind of get the point across. And even you could even hear it when I was talking about the ride cymbal right there during the pre-chorus there, when I was switched it to the ride. It just adds a little bit of space right before the explosion on the chorus with the crashes. So it was a good representation of that there. But this bridge, we wanted to keep the energy high. We wanted to keep the energy from the chorus, but just change it in a way to where it just still had that really great energetic feel. And I love this. This bridge is one of my favorites from that record.
It's epic. Let's keep rolling. Again, man, changing the fills, subtle changes to the fills. Yep. And then now you're coming out of this. Are you on the crash or on the ride, or?
I think it switches to the ride.
Yeah,
and
felt
some
something
bell parts
switch
in there as well.
Yep.
Yeah. So that way it's like a little bit of a come down because there's a little bit of a drop. There's a drop chorus after this part. So you don't want to have it go exploding. I think by switching it to the ride, it helps realize that, okay, we're coming down now and we're going to wind down to a drop chorus.
Sick.
So just switching to the ride, I mean, there's still a lot of energy in this part, but switching it from the crash to the ride helps indicate that, all right, we're going somewhere else with this, and that it's not just going to explode to the end of the song.
Epic. Let's keep going.
You say this is where you need to be. It's taking its toll on me.
Nothing better than a great chorus that has a drop chorus, like the third chorus. Nothing better than dropping it down, singing it. I would imagine at shows this would go berserk, this bit.
Oh yeah, this is where one of the songs where the crowd goes the loudest. But we love doing that. We love taking it, having a really energetic bridge, and then dropping it down to where it's just a nice crowd moment. And it really is a great way to build energy for the last chorus. Like that's the most fun part, is that after the drop, you can explode and you can take the drums really anywhere. Like this is as a drummer, the last chorus is your time to kind of sneak in a lot of cool fills, and do a lot of things that are different to indicate the song is coming to an end.
When we'll get to this last chorus, but when you come back in, say, live these days, so not when you're recording, but when you're playing live, do you go a little bit berserk? Like, do you kind of mix things up here and there, or do you keep it pretty intentional with what you play every night?
Yeah, so back in the day, I would keep it pretty simple, but now, like, I have a few fills that I throw in there that I wish were on the record.
Sick.
So I have some. I don't go too crazy, but I definitely have it more filled out than the first 2 choruses.
Yep. Sick. All right, let's have a listen.
I feel invisible. So tell me why can't you say this is where you need to?
Got a shout out doing the fill and then everyone landing on the 2. Sick.
Yep.
Sick.
I love that. Derek loves stuff like that. Like I think that was definitely my singer's. My singer loves that stuff. So adding those in, you'll see those sprinkled in a lot of state champ stuff.
Yeah. I think they're so impactful because everyone's waiting. Everyone just is used to the 1. So when it's not the 1, it kind of throws you off guard and hits a little harder.
Absolutely.
And I love the
song
setup.
is so, like, yeah.
Yeah.
And this song is kind of rudimentary. So having it come in on that spot kind of just makes it a little bit different and unique.
Mm-hmm. Epic. Let's keep going.
You know it's taking its toll on me, but I don't feel invisible. So tell me why can't you say this is where you need to be? You know it's taking its toll on me, so I hope for a miracle. Yeah, I hope for a miracle.
Sick. Flips it around at the end.
Yeah.
Love it.
Has it come kind of the same pattern as the bridge, because that's such a fun part of the song. To bring that back right at the end was really fun.
Yeah, mate, that's it's so interesting to hear you talk about that, and just hear the intent behind everything. I think that's fascinating to dive into it in depth like that. It's really cool, man, and I'm bloody impressed you can remember it that well. It's awesome.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, well, this record was really a game changer for me because it really changed my perspective on a lot of things. Mm-hmm. It really made me realize, stop thinking like a drummer. Mm-hmm. Think of like a musician. Mm-hmm. Before, my goal was to write the coolest drum parts of all time and be crazy. And then this record taught me, all right, my job is to make sure that we write the best songs as possible. So paying attention to those, like when you think that, I'm the drummer, I'm the best, I can do whatever I want, you're not thinking of what the best kick and snare pattern is or what specific cymbal to use for each part. You're just thinking, I want to have this really cool, crazy part.
Yeah.
So when you switch your mindset from drummer to musician, I think it's when you're going to get the best results for writing better songs.
100%, and probably the most growth you'll ever have as a drummer.
Sure. Yeah. Because, I grew up and I loved watching like people playing clinics and a lot of educational stuff and people playing outside of just with groups or artists. Like, if you watch Tony Royster Jr. play, it's amazing. And I love watching his just videos of him playing. But when he plays with all his artists, he's just locked in. Yeah. And he's doing what the artists want. And if you just pay attention to how they play in their bands, like what they do is still phenomenal. And there's a reason why they're at the top. But they're all very intentional with how they play. And that's super important. Like if you really are paying attention to what you're doing and how it helps or accents other members of your band, you're going to write better songs.
100%. And mate, I've got one last little thing I want to show you here. Sure. Now, there's a young Aussie called Kempton Maloney. He's part of my drum school. And I was like, I give him little tasks to work on here and there. And I was like, bro, you know what?
Yeah, I love that.
I reckon we need to get you to do State Champs Elevated. He's a big fan of you guys. Yeah.
Love that.
And, and he's done it. I'll show you a snippet of it.
Absolutely.
I reckon you might recognize him because he looked you up and he's like, oh my God, he follows me. So I reckon
I follow. Yeah. That's what I love about Instagram and stuff like that is I'll just find someone on the homepage or the For You page on TikTok or whatever, and there's phenomenal players everywhere.
This guy's a weapon. He's only 13 years old. Have a suss of this. We'll just watch a bit of it. Rip in those hi-hats.
Dude, absolutely smashing this. I've seen him play for sure.
Yeah, he's phenomenal,
Dude.
man. And he's a big fan, and he loves like this style of music.
Absolutely.
He's so good, man.
He's gonna go far.
He will, bro. I love watching talent like that. You can always kind of tell when you see someone that's going to be a drummer, like no matter what, like they'll just play forever.
100%.
He's one of those kids.
If I could play like that at 13, I'd be very stoked.
Bro, same. He's actually sponsored by Zildjian as well. He won a junior drum comp, I believe, a few years ago, and he'd be the youngest Zildjian artist in Australia. But
amazing.
Mate, he'd be stoked that you watched that. He was very excited.
That's what I love. I love seeing like all the young talent coming up now. Like I feel like growing up, I never had halfway through, like in 2005 when YouTube came out is when I really started paying attention to drums because I was really bored with like normal lessons. And so like when YouTube came out, it was a game changer. And now YouTube's been out forever and there's a million different ways to get drum content. And it really shows because the younger generation just absolutely like, they know what they're doing. Their setups look better. Like when I started, my toms were like, flat, like up. You're like hitting it, all the setup stuff, and even like this kid's gonna be good because he's already making good content online. Yeah, like it's not just about playing drums anymore. It's about how to market yourself online. So the videos look great, it sounds great. He's already a great player. It's gonna be a weapon.
Yeah, man. It's a different game. Like even when I was growing up, probably similar time to you, there was literally like no real way to get yourself out there other than playing gigs and like face to face. And it used to it was a massive challenge to try and get in front of people. It's like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to get in a band? How am I going to play gigs? How is all of this going to happen? And I guess kind of back then it was face to face. It still is face to face to a degree now, but it's the internet. Like if you can smash content like that, you can get an audience, and you can he can reach out and talk to you now. And kids can get guidance from drummers that are actually doing it, and it's a lot easier. Whereas back in the day, like there's no way I'd be able to talk to someone that's in a band from New York. There's no chance I'm gonna get to you. You'd have to come to Melbourne, and I'd have to sneak in to your show because I'm underage, or hang out at the side of the venue or whatever. Speaking of, you guys came to Australia quite recently, yeah?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
It was the first time in a long time that we had been there because before I think we did 2019 we did Unified Fest and we only flew in for one show, which was difficult to go to Australia for one show. Yep. But yeah, we did a full-blown Australian tour and I absolutely love being there.
Yeah, it's sick. And
absolutely. Can't wait to come back.
You played the Forum in Melbourne. I don't know if I'm pretty sure it was the Forum. Does that ring a bell?
I think so. I
theater.
think so. I'd have to look at the let me see what our
It's like it's pretty much the best venue in Melbourne, the Forum, like best PA, nicest kind of venue right in the city. It's sick.
To me, just being anywhere in Australia is mind-blowing. I never thought in a million years I'd even go there. So the fact that drums is the reason why, let me see if I can pull it up. It just blows my mind.
Bro,
I'm trying to find the flyer.
And it's just so far away. The Forum, Forum. Yeah. Great venue, man. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
so sick.
Really, really fun. I wish we were there for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Because the coffee is the best. I don't think anybody does coffee better than you guys.
Nah, we're on it over here.
But also it's beautiful. It's fun. The shows always go really, really well.
Yeah.
I can't wait to come back.
Epic. Well, man, mate, we'll wrap it up there. I appreciate you jumping on and giving me your time on a day off. I know day offs are very, very precious because you'd probably be very tired. And, man, you're absolutely killing it. Congrats with everything that's happening with the band, man. It's been a massive, massive rise for you guys. I even remember, I think it was like the last Vans Warped Tour. It was one of the Warped Tours. Everyone who I spoke to about the Warped Tour was just talking about state champs. Like you guys were on the tip of everyone's tongues. All my Aussie mates that were over there working. I have a mate, Peter, who films for Simple Plan. He does a lot of their stuff. He was just state champs, state champs, state. It was just like everyone was talking about state champs. So it's awesome to see, man. And well done. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys continue to crush it. And next time you're out here, I'll be there. And hopefully I'll be out there and we'll catch up at some point, man, and chew the fat in real life.
Yeah, and thank you so much for doing this stuff. I absolutely love talking drums as much as I possibly can. And like you said, going back, being able to reach out to your favorite drummers on the internet is a massive tool, and it helps out quite a bit. So anyone that has drum questions, please DM. I love that stuff. DM your favorite drummers. Learn as much as you possibly can. And I'm just happy that you're doing this. This is cool. Any drum content is awesome. So I appreciate you for even having me on here.
Oh man, I appreciate you for being on. It's awesome, mate. That was really good. Heaps of great insight into your playing, and a lot for people to learn from that, man. Really, really cool. So thanks heaps, brother.
You. Thank
Done.
you so much. Thank you,
mate. I'll hit you up shortly with it, and we'll get it out there. Awesome, brother.
All right.
Enjoy your day off. Cheers, man.
You as well.
Bye, mate. Bye. Bye.